And let's get right into it as we begin our first game on Tropical Sacrifice. And spawn here at the top right, we got our blue Terran player playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming. Give it up for Kier.
And his opponent, the Red Zerg, not going for a hatch first this time around. It is DRG.
Yeah, so currently DRG is not on the team as he was previously on Team NV, which recently disbanded on the 14th of August. So yeah, a couple of players that were on Team NV looking for some new teams. One of them was DRG's teammate Creator, which is also going to be playing tonight. He is currently teamless as he is looking for a new team. And hopefully these guys are able to do so pretty soon.
Yeah, it would be pretty funny if Creator and DRG ended up in the same team once again, after having played so much with each other already.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, teams will pick up like a good chunk of players. Like whenever a team disbands. Because I remember when Jin Air Green Wings disbanded, you know?
Yeah.
They all went to Team Envy.
Yeah, that definitely caught a lot of people's attention. I remember, I feel like maybe this was just me, but it kind of felt to me like Team Envy really popped up out of nowhere. And they just had a banger lineup right from the start, which was, you know, really cool to see, being this far into StarCraft 2's sort of lifetime, you know.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised. Like we recently had like a bunch of new teams. You know, we talked about Team NV, but also Onside Gaming, and you know, Shopify
right.
Rebellion as well.
Right. I believe the CEO, I want to say, of Shopify is a very, very, very big StarCraft fan, and so they are always, you know, sponsoring tournaments and whatnot. So very cool to see that kind of support within the community.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So this is kind of interesting. Cure is opening up with a 3-Rax. Now this build is known for being able to catch opponents off guard, maybe. You know, you just get a bunch of Stim Marines and you try to get some damage done. I feel like this is more common against Protoss, but it definitely does see play against Zerg. You know, your goal is to, like I said, catch them off guard, maybe even get some drone kills after you deal with the Queens. So what do you think of this?
Yeah, I like it. As you mentioned, yeah, it's pretty more common versus a Protoss, but you do see sometimes they pull it off against a Zerg player. And I think this is a map where the travel distance is not too far. You can walk over to your opponent's bases rather quickly, so not a bad map to pull this off.
Yeah, now the question is, will DRG be able to scout it in time? I think, well, he's got that Overlord over on the pillar. He has not scouted any part, actually, of Cure's either main or natural, so he's kind of going into this a little bit blind. Now, he does have spotter lings out on the map. That top ling was chasing around that reindeer alien thing for a little bit. But yeah, now the Overlord does see that there are a bunch of Marines moving out, so DRG should have an idea of what is to come.
Yeah, currently only has only a few Queens. Couple of links. Looks like some more will be popping out. But yeah, looks like we're about to get into a rather big fight.
Right, the Queens are going to try to hold the front line. Lings are going to wrap around to the north side, try to get a surround on the Marines. Marines are going to actually keep on firing away at the Lings. The Lings are not going to be enough to get that surround. Oh, do we have a disconnect? Oh no.
Oh.
Not again.
Oh no.
Alright, I'm just gonna exit, that way the games can keep going.
Alright. Looks like we will continue on. And You know, I might actually set like afterwards, maybe set like a screen share on Discord so that you can still follow along.
Right, right.
But now, looks like we are gonna have a small move out once again. Let's see how many Marines is that on the field. 25. So a good, decent chunk here. And DRG actually, I think, yeah, looking at it, he does have a lot of units here to defend. I mean, just in the bird's eye view, I think he should be able to, especially with the Queen transfuse and also with the better reinforcement points. Looks like here is just going to go ahead and try to kill off creep tumors for now. But again, when you commit into a 3 Rex kind of build like this, it's quite committed. So if you don't do any, if you don't find any value damage, then Berserk is going to be able to just kind of pull ahead really quickly. Alright, once again, another skirmish here out in the front. DRG got to be careful. He's walking off of creep, and once the queens walk off of creep, they're not going to be able to transfuse one another. Although, as I say that, there's not a lot of energy on those queens, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But don't want to go ahead and try to chase down, and then all of a sudden, you know, a bunch of marine reinforcements come, and you're like, oh, I gotta retreat. But then you're walking off, or you're trying to retreat back home off of creep. It's not the best scenario because queens, they're quite slow. Alright, tank gonna go ahead and join up into the fray. There's actually a couple of good siege positioning if Kier really wanted to. Yep, that's one of them. I mean, but DRG, he's pretty much held on these past couple attacks with relatively little losses. I mean, mainly lost mineral units in those lings and maybe some queens, but for the most part, hasn't really suffered any economic damage and has transitioned to roaches and ravagers, which does nicely against marines and a few tanks in general as well. So I don't see this drop finding too much damage. I wouldn't be surprised if DRG decided to go for a counterattack, because right now he just needs to maybe keep a couple of roaches back at home just to defend any drops. But for the most part, he can send the majority of his units across the map if he wanted to. I mean, currently he has about 18 army supply lead. So plenty of roaches and ravagers. Oh, actually, nice little drop attack here at the top side. We'll take out the hatchery. That hatchery, or that base is quite far away from the other bases, so it would be difficult to defend against that. I would love to see DRG just expand towards the pocket base near the main base, which it looks like he will go ahead and do so. That is so much more easier to defend. As long as you kill the rocks, because you want to go ahead and open up the pathway for those roaches and ravagers to get on top of the marines and tanks. Because, you know, corrosive bile you can shoot from afar, but there is a range on that still. So if you can kind of get on top of the tanks a bit quicker, as well as the lings too, you want to get this around. And so far, like throughout this whole game, Kira just putting attack on attack, wave after wave, and just not finding the damage that he is looking for. Like DRG has been really defending well. I mean, with the exception of that, you know, snipe hatchery, like Kira hasn't really found too much damage. Oh, actually, you know what? He might actually get this cancel, and then he does. That's a good pickup for him. I will go ahead and reset DRG back into 3 bases. He does expand towards the top side once again. And he's going to go ahead and double expand as well as he takes that pocket base. Which, right now, for the most part, if your opponent is on 4 CC, you might as well double expand to keep up. So, I'm liking this play from DRG. But the last couple of minutes or two, it looks like here is finally finding some sort of damage here, which has kind of pulled him a bit closer. Right now he's got 2-2 on the way as well. So keeping up with the upgrades and the bases. which will scale nicely for him as this game goes on. Alright, once again, getting the snipe off at this topside base, which is really nicely done there. Looks like DRG did not have enough units there to defend. As that base seems like it's been cursed throughout this whole game. But yeah, it seems like the momentum has shifted a little bit towards Kier. Like DRG for the better half of this game has done well defending all these attacks, and all of a sudden, like these drops and these double multi-prong attacks starting to get some nice pickoffs. However, the Vipers have been added into this army composition, which will provide so much potential here for DRG. Not only can he abduct the tanks towards him, but also maybe some parasitic bombs on these medevacs. He doesn't have any anti-air to pick off with these medevacs, so getting these parasitic bombs might be the way to do so. Anyhow, here we go. A nice grace around here by DRG, picking off a lot of these Marines. However, a lot of tanks left over. Gonna go ahead and try to corrosive bow, but these tanks are getting a nice, decent amount of pot shots. But ultimately, DRG does clean out the rest of the tanks, and now he is gonna go ahead and push on forward. Throughout this whole game, Kier has been on the offensive end, and DRG looking to possibly go on the offense himself now that he has cleaned up all the attacks on his side of the map. And looks like we're gonna have Ultralisk then on the way, and that is gonna provide so much just bulkiness to DRG's army, because you know the tanks can do really well in terms of sniping off a pack of lings or banelings, even some roaches as well if they're grouped up. But Ultralisks, they take up a lot of surface area, which means that they can kind of take the brunt of the tank damage while the other units don't suffer from the splash damage. And then of course the Ultralisk can go ahead and chop away at those Marines, as they do themselves have the splash damage. And you know, throughout this game, DRG has been getting the melee weapon attack, so that's gonna go ahead and add on to those Ultralisks as well. Anyhow, we're gonna have another engagement. Nice clouding, blinding clouds here on top of all the tanks, but they do expire, and the rest of the Kier's reinforcements does push on forward. And this is going to be a vulnerable timing for DRG as he's trying to transition into Ultralisk. Kier is going to go ahead and try to take advantage of this, but it looks like DRG with the skin of his teeth might be able to hold on for the time being as those Ultralisk pops out. Once those Ultralisk pops out, that is going to really bolster the army of DRG. Let's go ahead and take a look at the resources lost tab. About 5,000 more for DRG. So it looks like Kier has been taking a lot of efficient trades throughout this game. However, it looks like this is a huge Ling counterattack is going to go ahead and find some decent amount of worker kills. But here we go. Ultra is going to go ahead and walk right on top of these tanks. As you can see, man, these tanks are so durable. And that is going to go ahead and push Kier backwards. These Lings, though, still eating away at that CC. And 22 SCVs going down here for our Blue Terran. Now that the Ultralisks are out, we should see a bit more Marauder productions on in the production tab. And it looks like DRG is getting ready to jump onto this third base of here. Or actually it might be from the 4th base. But anyhow. Army supply looking pretty even, but again, these Ultralisks kind of make it a bit deceiving. Although, as I say that, a lot of these Ultralisks are getting into red life here, but not before taking out this planetary, which, and then also 17 more SCVs. So, DRG finding a lot of economic damage here. Kira also taking out this hatchery as well, so nice pick off there. But again, planetary and 17 SCVs versus only 1 hatchery. So, you know, if I was in DRG's shoes, I would love that trade any day of the week. Alright, looks like game will stabilize for the time being, as both of these players trying to reap or trying to recover from all the economic losses. DRG's his hatchery count not the highest, kind of gets me worried. And Kier, he's finally has stabilized, and boy oh boy, he has so much tanks and marauders right now. Look at that. You know, he lost a lot of workers, which means that a lot of his supply is in his army, and you can see it reflected as he has like almost an 40 army supply lead here, which is absolutely insane. But maybe with these Vipers, these blinding clouds, I can turn the table here. All these blinding clouds are rendering the tank useless, but there's just too much Marine and Marauders on the ground, and Kier gonna go ahead and take game 1.
So I really like what Cure is doing. He's taking the pocket base. He just mined out the minerals that were blocking him off, and now he's going to be moving his command center into position. So he's, you know, got the same base count as DRG, which is really, really good as a Terran player.
Yeah, for sure. And looks like Banshee Cloak about to be halfway done here, and there's a lot of Hellions actually out in the front.
Yeah, he's got, what, 8 in total? So in theory, he should not be getting any more than this. And it does look like he's going to be starting a couple of additional barracks, and then he's going to go into that Marine production. So it does not look like it's going to be a mech game, much to my personal disappointment.
Aw, man.
Yeah. Actually, I can't recall the last time I've seen Cure specifically play mech. I feel like every time I watch him, he's always playing Bio, which, you know, for good reason, but just something to note.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, there's some Terran players that are more prone to mech play, and then there's some that just stick with the good old and reliable, you know, army composition.
Okay, so these 2 Banshees are going to cloak up. They're going to go into the main, see if they can pick off 1 queen. 2nd queen is also going to get picked off. So this is some pretty good free damage. Also, some drones that were being rallied. But that's because the majority of the queens are defending against the 8 Hellions that are running across the map. Now, these Lings, they are not going to get into the base. There are SCVs ready to repair that wall back up. And then the Marines are also going to come on down. Hellions doing their best to clear out some creeps. Some more drones have gone down. These Banshees are just being such a nuisance, you know, sticking to the sort of in-between area where there isn't really any detection, there isn't too much anti-air. But finally, the Queens are going to push them back. The Hellions also trying to make some more progress. All in all, this is a pretty good sort of sparring session here in the early game. We've got some drones going down. We've got DRG mostly defending his worker count. And he's going to be following up with a Spire, so we're going to get to see that classic Muta Ling Bane composition.
Yeah, which is no surprise. I mean, this map is really great for that. Again, the air space between the bases are pretty short, so the Mutalists can take advantage of that. And then the ground space overall is quite wide open, so Lings and Banelings can kind of get some nice surface area and get some nice around. But oh, gotta be careful. That's a lot of Hellions. Don't want to go ahead and surround them with not enough Lings. You get all your Lings roasted.
Right. Man, that was a really good surround being set up by DRG2, but at the very last minute, he decided, nope, I'm not going to pull the trigger, I'm going to bring back my lings. You know, of course, that's going to cost him a few lings, but it's better than, you know, losing everything in that instant. Now, look at this, we have 12 mutas and +1 air attack on the way, so DRG is definitely committed to this muta play. His 2 evos are a little bit late, he did have to sort of commit to the air attack rather than getting his upgrades. But we also have a pretty big tank push coming out now. Is DRG going to be ready? He does seem to have a good number of banelings on the way. But he's also droning up at the moment, so this could go either way, I feel. Now, the mutas are going to engage over at the pocket base. There is a missile turret in place already. A second missile turret is going to be built. Mutas are going to do their best, try to get some harass done, but it looks like they're going to back off just for now after they take care of that refinery.
Oh, he might actually want to go ahead and retreat his Mutalisk back home because this tank push is knocking at the front door here. And he's going to need all the units he can get to defend against this. Oh man, he's even getting attacked at the main base with these Banshees, but right now he's got to worry about this south side base. Got to make sure he's engages right.
Oh, interesting. So the mutas are going to actually try to engage up front. I don't usually see that too often. Usually you would see the Zerg player trying to pick off the tanks over in the back, but DRG probably already knows, he's already scouted that here does have those backline Marines ready to defend against the tanks. But here we go. The mutas, Banes, and the Lings are going to stream forward. Going to take care of the first sort of wave, but here comes the second wave. We've got a reinforcing tank and more Marines. That is just a ridiculous amount of Marines. Can DRG hold? The supplies are pretty even. He's going to go back in. I don't know if this is the move. Queens are going to come forward as well. Ooh, some decent Baneling connections, but it's not going to be enough to really take care of all of the Marines just yet. Wow, look at that. GG Cure is just going to take it 2-0. I kind of wish they named this map USBC, then it would be, you know, a little more relatable. But to be fair, I think that was kind of the idea.
That is brilliant. That would have been so funny.
But I wonder why they called it that. There's nothing that really sticks out in the tile set to me as being particularly tech heavy.
I know, right?
Actually, it all seems very biological, so I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. This kind of like a underwater map. So
yeah,
it has really nothing to do with any data or technology.
yeah. Right. Oh, that reminds me. I think there was a map a while ago. Pride of Altaris? Wait, is that in the current map pool? I don't think so, right?
No. But yeah, I remember that map, yeah.
Yeah, that one was just like gold everywhere, bronze everywhere. You could tell it was all about the Protoss, you know? About some sort of, you know, legacy world or something like that. Oh, is the Reaper? Oh, look at that. Okay, so just in time, DRG's going to plant down that third hatchery before the Reaper can actually finish it off.
Alright, now we're going to have our classic dance of the Reaper and Lings. But yeah, there's certain maps that Blizzard has named that just doesn't quite make sense. Like, you know, not too long ago we had, you know, Glittering Ashes, and you know that that map had no glitter, you know.
Yeah, where's my glitter? I want it. You know, I want shininess in my games.
You know what would be cool if there was a map that actually had glitter, and then like, as you maybe like a swamp of glitter in certain areas, and if the unit goes over it, then they're covered in glitter.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole game until they die.
Oh man, they just become they get like a buff, but it's only visual.
I know, yeah, exactly.
That'd be hilarious. Oh, I would love to see that.
Well, probably
of course, I feel like the pro community would be vehemently against it because it would just be a distraction. But still, one can dream, right?
Yeah. And I would guess that it's not going to be too good for the player's FPS.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of glitter.
Yeah. Because it's basically more, I guess, data for the CPU to process. Like, oh, you know, keep track of which units have glitter and which don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cure actually has a super quick command center at his third. It's already in orbital and it's already producing SCVs, and it's not even 430. This is intended to be a full send macro build from Cure. Now, question is, will DRG let it slide? I think he's not exactly going to punish it. It doesn't look like he plans on making, you know, lings or anything of that sort anytime soon. So I think we are going to be headed into yet another macro game here in game number 3.
Yeah, it would seem so. Looks like DRG still making drones, even though he's 20 workers ahead. So both of these players are getting really greedy to start off this game, and it's a little bit of a no surprise here, especially because while this map doesn't have a ton of bases, for some odd reason, this map tends to go into the late game, into the late stages. And so, yeah, both these players looking to intend to go into the latter stages of this game here.
Oh, are these Hellions? Oh my gosh, they actually find an angle. They're going to roast 6 whole drones just with one volley of flamethrower fire. Wow, that was excellent positioning by Cure to bypass those queens. Now, granted, there wasn't too much creep in place already. There was really only just one creep tumor on either ramp to take care of, and then he could just zoom on in there. So, kind of interesting. I wonder how DRG could have avoided that. I mean, it just seemed like he didn't really have any lings to defend. Maybe that was it. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, like he just really droned up like crazy. So he kind of forego the ling production. And so he didn't have a lot on the ground. Now he could have gone for the evolution chamber block that a lot of Zergs would go for to at least prevent the Hellions to get on top of the drones, but didn't have it in time and did lose 6 workers because of that.
Okay, so we're going to see that Spire just about finished in a second. We also see the double expand from DRG. I honestly like this a lot. It's kind of like, where do you allocate your minerals, right? If you don't really necessarily want to produce lings, but you also need to spend a ton of gas on things like mutas, which is the case here, then where else are you going to spend your minerals? You might as well double expand. I personally really like that move. Now, it looks like one of those hatches will get punished by this double drop over to the south. Now, the lings are going to get this around. They are going to force a pickup. But those 2 medevacs are just going to fly straight into the main. So this is excellent use of that terrain. Looks like another drop is going to be set up on the other side of the map as well. But yeah, this is the part of the game where, you know, the players start testing each other's abilities.
Alright, mutalists are out, so that means that drop play is going to be a little bit more riskier. And of course, you don't want to go ahead and lose your medevacs to a bunch of mutalists. Especially in a situation where, you know, army supply, quite similar. So every unit can count.
Oh, speaking of every unit, look at that Widowmine shot! No way! That was insane. Now these slow Banelings are going to walk into more Widowmines. Mutas are going to try to chase off of creep. Oh, it's not exactly a disaster, but that definitely did not go well for DRG. I mean, I'm sure that Cure is very happy about his Widowmine shots there. Now, granted, he did lose quite a few Marines, so it's not like this army is the biggest, and, you know, if we look at their supply, they are quite even. Plus, DRG does have the Defender's advantage, but Cure is just going to go ahead and keep on pushing. Looks like he will be rallying across the map as well. Is there Bane Speed? Is Bane Speed even on the production tab?
No. Nope.
Okay, just now DRG starts it, so this is pretty late.
Yeah, quite late. He invested all his gases into those mutalists and the upgrades, so... Oh man, he doesn't even have enough creep to, you know, give that extra bit of speed to those Banelings. And so this is making it such a difficult defense here for our red Zerg player. Trying to go for a counter, but it does get intercepted by Kira, and Kira gonna go ahead and push on forward.
Look at this. It almost looks like Cure is the one surrounding DRG rather than DRG surrounding Cure. I mean, this is amazing. Cure is a master at repositioning and making sure that he, never is caught in the same place more than once. And so, because of that, DRG is just constantly on the defense. He's on the back foot. He's, giving up a lot of that creep footing over in the north side of the map because his lings are all the way back down at the south. Now, he does have a very good muta count. You can certainly do a lot with mutas when they get up into higher numbers, but those Widow Mines are just such a big threat to basically the entire Zerg's army composition.
Man, a bunch of upgrades about to finish for our Terran, so this pressure here not gonna stop. He's gonna go ahead and keep it up like he has in the previous games. And look at this. Every time DRG tried to re-expand his creep spread, Cure is on top of it.
Oh, that one Widow Mine. Yeah, this is pretty crazy. We're seeing basically maxed out Zerg. Oh, those were some pretty decent Baneling hits, but there was a Widow Mine shot off on the Widow Mine. Excuse me, there was a Widow Mine shot off on the Mutas. Oh! Another huge Widow Mine shot goes off on a bunch of those Banelings, so definitely a very expensive trade for DRG, a very good trade for Cure. He also does have a Thor out on the map, so a couple of Thors actually, so they are going to help out tremendously against these Mutas.
Yeah, not only the Mutalisks, but also the Banelings, because, the Banelings, it makes it more difficult for the Banelings to get on top of the Marines. You gotta, roll around the Thors to get into the Marines, so that just kind of puts an extra boundary, between the Banelings and the Marines, and oh no.
Oh man. Not again. Yeah, I want to note that both players were actually maxed out by the 10-minute mark, and that just goes to show the benefit of taking early bases, of focusing on macro without worrying about harassment, that kind of thing. Because, maxing out on 10 minutes is a pretty good benchmark for, I would say, any composition, really.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me back in the day when it was like Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm, Stefano, he would max out on roaches.
Yeah.
Before the 10-minute mark, and back in the day, that was actually pretty impressive because, nowadays we start off with so many workers, to begin the game, but back then it was only 6 workers to begin the game.
Oh, right.
So it was pretty impressive.
Well, what's also impressive is this push. We've got basically a 2-pronged attack coming out from here. One sort of subsite going to the north, and then the other pushing the south. The south doesn't really have much in terms of defense for DRG. A bunch of those Marauders and Thors are going to start eating those Baneling hits, but it looks like for now DRG has held. I have no idea how that went down. I could have sworn that all of the Banelings died, but look at this. DRG still has some army left over. He's going to push back across the map. He's going to start taking care of those Thors of that ground army. He's going to start contesting that planetary a little bit, actually, but it looks like he will back off before he loses too much.
Yeah, but you know what? He can still keep up the pressure with these Mutalisks. These Mutalisks so mobile, and he does have, let's see here, 16 Mutalisks on the field. So yeah, it's kind of getting close to that, mass critical amount. Maybe adding a few more will do so. We'll be able to make sure that these Mutalisks, goes to the next level in terms of getting the optimal amount. Oh, gotta be careful though. Still turrets, there's still Marines here, so don't want to lose your Mutalisks, and that will pull the Mutalisk numbers down to 12.
So I wonder if either player is going to start considering some sort of transition. Now, these compositions, they can get you through a large portion of the game, but neither of them are really the super duper late, end game compositions for their respective army units. Now hold that thought, because these Banelings are going to try to roll off of creep, trying to get these connections on the juicy Marines. Thors are going to go down, Marauders up front are going to go down. Banelings are still chasing off of creep. Looks like they will not be able to find connections on the main bio ball. But that was still a decent amount of damage. It pushed the Terran pretty far back, but he's just going to go ahead and push back onto the creep. So I'm not sure how much time that actually bought DRG.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point where these bases are basically going to be touching one another. And so there's not a lot of time given to either of these players to remax. If they lose a big battle, like they're going to have to sacrifice maybe a base, like DRG might have to sacrifice a hatchery in order to buy enough time to remax. But even though I'm talking about all these remaxes, like DRG doesn't have a huge bank right now. And right now, Cure gonna be sitting at 3-3. Although the 3-3 is about to finish with DRG, so looks like both players are keeping up on the upgrades. But yeah, it's getting to that point where, like, yeah, both of these players are gonna pretty much take the entirety of the bases on this specific map here.
All right, once again, we do have another two-pronged. It's going to take care of one of the Zerg's upper bases. I like the sensor tower positions. It's a little bit aggressive, you know? It's like, hey, I'm in your face. I know exactly where your army is. Which, you know, is obviously one of the most useful things in StarCraft. Now, Banelings are going to try and get more connections. Looks like they will be able to clean up this army. Wow, that was actually a really, really big cleanup, I have to say. So Cure probably was focusing on this southern army, these 3 Thors over in the back, helping out a lot with the damage against the static defense, especially.
Wow, Christmas must have come early because Cure is just going to go ahead and gift DRG, like, the hatchery there, as he could have taken it out, but going to go ahead and retreat. But he's like, oh, you know what? You're going to counterattack me? Then I am going to cut Christmas early. I am going to go ahead and take out the hatchery here. No present for you.
So, who do you think lost more in that trade? Cure with a forward planetary, or DRG with the corner base?
You know, it's kind of hard to say because, you know, Cure did lose 13 SCV, so you would think, you know, it did favor DRG, but gotta remember that with Zerg, their hatcheries are also their production, like the larva count. And, you know, they also, you know, Zergs would love to stay like at least one base ahead of their opponent. And so if you get a split map scenario where both players get like an equal amount of bases, then it does favor the Terran. So, you know, if DRG can kind of reclaim those lost bases and extra one off of Cure side, then maybe he can even it out. But you know what, in the end, you know, both players are still going to be able to max out. And here we go, another huge engagement. Mutalisk is gonna magic box these doors. Gonna go ahead and mitigate some of the splash damage. Once again, another hatchery going down. But there is a huge, or not huge, but a good chunk of army here down at the south side with a bunch of doors. And this is gonna be too much for DRG to handle. And Cure gonna take a dominant 3-0 sweep.